this is Matt with Let's Talk Music. I'm here with Chris Watt of Fire Follows. Chris, we talked a while back when you released Shedding Skin, wasn't it?
Yep, shedding the skin. Yep,
Yeah. And now you got a new one out called Say Words.
you got it.
So I listened to this song, man, and it's good jam. It's well put together.
Cool.
It's got all of the hard rock necessities, got some double bass, got some killer riffs,
Yep,
clean and unclean vocals. As I remember last time when we talked, you do all that yourself, correct?
correct. Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the process of putting together Say Words.
So all the songs take like so much time. Say words. Oftentimes the songs will start with just piano pieces, and then I'll build out like a chorus generally that I think is it's hooky, it's melodic, it's working with the piano stuff. Say Words was a little different. That the guitar riff, the rhythm guitar riff that's running under the chorus was the first thing that came from that one. And once I'd started kind of messing with it, the vocal just sort of landed there. It's just one of those things where it just kind of hit. Um, and it's it's a brutal song, it's a brutal message. And the way I had to sort of set it up instrumentally was like trying to capture sort of the quietness, the melodic sides of it, but also give it sort of enough dissonance and kind of key changing here and there to make that messaging make sense. You know, you can't make it too pretty when you've got that kind of lyric set in there. So
Right.
yeah, it took some time, took a lot of writes and rewrites and revisions, but yeah, I'm stoked with how it turned out.
Yeah, it is. It's great, man. I mean, because it like I said, it was, as far as vocally, it's got some actual like it's got some singing in it, and then it's got some unclean vocals. It's got
Yep.
some like some whispers to it.
Yep.
Um, I think that it was really well put together, and you
Oh,
knocked it out of the park with this one. I
appreciate it, man.
really loved shedding your skin, but I enjoyed this one more.
Love it, dude. Love it.
And the message is pretty awesome too. I mean, anybody that watches the video, because it is a lyric video, is
Yep.
going to catch on to it. But I mean, it's also, if you wasn't watching the video and if you was just listening to it, man, you can actually you can catch the message. It's not like it's like subliminal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're putting
No,
it right out there.
very much so, dude. I'm glad that you said that because it is. It's an overt, just here's the thing, you know. That topic is a tough one to it's a tough one to address and it's a tough one to get right. Like I feel like a lot of and this isn't a knock at all, but it's just an observation. Like a lot of bands that are in the hard rock metal space, I feel like they key in so much on the mental health, the suicide prevention and stuff like that. And it's great, 100%, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it feels a little bit overdone where I just don't know if that much attention needs to be necessarily placed there. So when I put this one together, it was just I really wanted to be as genuine and non how would you even say it?
Nonchalant.
I didn't want to put something together that I thought was going to be like designed to attract certain interests. I just wanted to get the words out correctly, and that's what I feel like at least hopefully this one is, and hopefully it helps some people. Obviously, that's the goal of a song like this.
Yes. Well, and when we spoke last, that was also your goal with shedding your skin.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's as we discussed last time. I really feel like you know that makes you a genuine artist.
Yeah.
That you're trying to express something that's going to reach people and hopefully help people.
Yep, that's it, man. That's what this song's for.
And it does. It's I talked with a couple bands last night, and we were talking about how a song can make you feel, and how it makes you feel different emotions, and you can be it can remind you of a time, or a place or whatever. And
Yeah.
so I love what you do there, man. It just, I think that it will reach a lot of people. And
Yeah.
as an artist, one of the greatest things you can hear is somebody saying, man, this song really helped me.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, just want everything to have an impact, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to put this one together?
Months. Um, I'd say from its like inception to when I started recording it, because I had the chorus piece originally.
Mm-hmm.
And the verse I had the guitar parts for, but I tracked it, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 different ways. And it just wasn't quite landing. So I needed to step away from it for a while, which is often the case. I'll take a breather from something so I can come back with
Right.
fresh ears. And and yeah, just was able to find something that I thought was it's a little bit far enough away from the main melody and the chorus that it definitely pulls your ear away from the song for a moment. Like it kind of makes you listen in, but obviously it still flows with the song. So between that and then the bridge, I went back and forth on that a million times because I love the scream vocals, but I never want that to the screaming stuff is easy. Like it's just, it requires no melody. And so I always want to make sure if I'm doing it that it's for a good reason. So it fit well in this song. It made sense. And again, it's like this song really was done in sections, each piece, the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, the bridge, they're all incredibly different. And so it was a little tricky tying all that together. But yeah, I think it worked out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, but you kind of you touched on the screaming part there, and I mean, for someone who, when you're recording, is a one man band,
Yeah.
the that takes, I guess, I what am I trying to look for? A certain type of voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to do to deliver the clean and the unclean. Because I mean, if you
Yep.
look at a lot of bands, I mean, like Linkin Park, for example, you have Mike Shinoda doing the clean and
Yep.
Chester doing
Yep.
the unclean. So the fact that you're able to do both by yourself, I mean, you play guitar, you play drums, you play
Yep.
bass, you lay it all down there.
Yep.
You're just one talented mofo, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, it's funny because like the screaming stuff, I always again like it has its place, right? Like I
Right.
I I like it as long as it's contextually like appropriate for the music. But I will say when I'm tracking, like I definitely only do those vocals on that day. Like I don't want to be screaming for God knows how long and then try to do the clean vocals, especially if I'm, recording for the finals. So I'll pick a day out and I'll be like, all right, we're gonna hammer it today. We're gonna go, balls to the wall and just rip it.
So do you do the production and mixing too?
I don't. So I do the production, the mixing I send out for the
Okay.
first Fire Follows EP, the If It's War You Want EP. I mixed that one, and it, mixing is just its own art form, And part of the problem is like I get when I'm tracking these songs because they take so much time. By the time the recording is done, like I've lost all objectivity. I
Mhm.
just can't hear it correctly anymore because I'm hearing, of course, what I want to hear. So being able to send it out for mixing, bounce down the stems, send it out, and then have someone else do the mix master, it just makes a better song. It just
Right.
does. I'm sure there's some people that can record and do all the mixing themselves, but like I said, I'm just never going to get as good of a final product if I'm the one trying to do 100% of it. Like the recording's enough, and
Mhm.
then kick it out to those guys and let the pros do what they do.
Yeah, I once I asked that question, I remembered. I was like, shit, you send it off, and the last time that we talked, that you said that you was extremely impressed with the person that does the mixing and stuff.
Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Well, go
you.
ahead.
Oh, so go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's Hindi Amps. They're out of Texas, and it's Landon Hook and Chris Henderson that do the mix master,
Right.
and they're incredible. I mean, I always because I send them a lot of stuff. The songs are dense, like the vocal stacks can be 30, 40 parts deep sometimes. And so I know it's a lot, and it takes a special kind of person to be able to go, all right, here we go. Like they weren't with me when I was recording it. They're getting it all for the first time, and they have to figure out how to kind of make it all work together. And they're exceptionally good at that.
Yeah, and I think in the end product, that matters a lot. It's I know when we talked before, you kind of explained yourself as a perfectionist
Yeah.
when it comes to the music. It's like
Yep.
you have to send it away because you hear something, you're like, that's not what I was trying to do, but then you send it away and they tweak it, and you're like, okay, that's what it, what it
Yep,
was. And I mean,
you got it.
that makes sense. I mean, especially
Yep.
in your case where you're, again, a one man band.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
getting ready to hit the road, man. Smile,
Yeah.
Empty Soul, Tantric.
Yep.
Uh, how'd that come about?
That was all my PR agent, Song River, as I call her anyway. But yeah, she's connected with a band called Gears. I don't know if you ever talked
Yes,
to them before. Yeah.
out of
So
Miami.
what's that?
They're out of Miami.
Yep. So
Yep.
one of their guys was helping with the, just getting this whole tour set up, and it was through her, and they'd reached out, and I mean, it just it happened quickly, but it was one of those things where I was like, look, we got to just get this ball rolling, with the touring stuff, and like I've got a band that's been ready to go, and we just haven't really had something that made sense. And so when this one popped up, it was like, all right, here we go. We're gonna get dialed in. And so we've been rehearsing. Everything sounds incredible. We're gonna have some really solid backtracking that'll really fill the sound out. And then of course, all the guitars and drums and every vocals, of course, will be live. But yeah, it's a cool sound right now, man.
So is it friends of yours, or is it, hired musicians? I mean, how does
Yeah,
that work for your touring?
yeah, so it's friends basically. So Emily Gould, who's drumming for me, I've known her for a long time. Ryan Milan, who's playing lead guitar, he hit up one of the other guys that was doing some stuff with the Fire Follows project a few years ago, just on Instagram, and just was like, hey, love the music or whatever. And so we started talking, and yeah, I mean, just an incredible guitarist. And then the woman that I've got two chicks, so we got two females, two males in the band, which is actually pretty rad. But she's in a band with Emily right now. They're in like an all I don't even know what to call it, like a punk, kind of like a punk cover band.
Hmm.
So they knew each other, and Emily was like, hey, I think she'd fit in great, and killer guitarist. So didn't take me long to get everybody familiarized with the parts. And yeah, they're good people, good musicians. I couldn't be happier with the lineup.
Yeah, and I've been saying that a lot lately. Is it's really cool to see more females involved in rock.
Yeah.
You know, some of the bands, like I said, I've been reaching across the pond. And um, I think just about every band that I've talked to over there has a female, or at least one or two in it. And
Yep.
most of them have been the singers, and these are
Mhm.
like death metal bands. So I'm like,
Yep.
how in the world do you do this? You're
Yep.
so pretty and you're just,
Yep.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. But it's really cool to see it nowadays where it's mixed up. I mean, you think back in the 80s, 90s, it wasn't much of that.
No.
The girls were, or not girls, but the ladies were doing, hip hop or R&B, or what do you want to call it, adult contemporary or whatever.
Yeah. No doubt.
You didn't have the rocker chicks. You had Joan Jett,
Yeah.
and Lita Ford, but not many of them.
No doubt. And it's a cool look for sure. Like for I think fans getting to watch a band that's got a female drummer and a female guitarist in this case, but it's also just a good vibe, you
Yeah.
know. There's something nice about having a couple ladies involved, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
I mean, that was one of the things, like when I first discovered Skillet, that I loved about them was,
Yeah.
the female drummer, and she does the backing vocals, and
Yep.
then you have the other one that's, a violinist, and I'm like, wow, the
Yeah.
really cool band. So you
That's
guys are
it.
starting out in Lafayette, Louisiana,
Yep.
and then flying on out in Austin, Texas. But in between, you got a lot of Florida, looks like a Tennessee and Georgia, and no damn Ohio, man. Come on.
Yeah. But next time, brother, I'm telling you, next time. Yeah, we got kind of that routing that sort of starts Tennessee and then kind of drops down and curls back to Texas. So it'll be this is the first tour for Fire Follows, So very much looking forward to it.
Have you played any local shows out there in Colorado?
And not yet. No, we're gonna do at least 3 or 4 tune-up shows, before we get out, especially to make sure like everything's working with the backtracks. But it's funny, people hit me up all the time. It's just like, what the hell, man? Like, no, nothing local. It's like, oh, we're getting there. I got Landon that does my mixing is coming out next week or week after next. And he'll be out here for about a week, kind of getting all the backtracks and just sort of all of our mix stuff dialed in. So after that, we'll be ready to rip. We'll hit a few Colorado shows and then get on the road.
Yeah, so looks like March 16th you're heading out, and
Mhm.
like I said, Lafayette, Louisiana. How far of a drive is that for you?
That is a good question that Song can answer. I think it's I think it's probably something like it's close to 20 hours. You know, it's something like that. So we'll leave the day before, make sure that we leave ourselves plenty of time. But yeah, that first one will be the longest trek, and then obviously getting back up from Austin.
Especially, I'm sure the weather isn't the greatest out there in Colorado right now.
No, it's not. It's been snowing, it's been cold. You know, we'll be hitting the uh, song we were talking about a little bit, like weather stuff, in the Midwest or whatever as we're going through, but we'll be all right. We got a good rig that we're gonna be taking out there, and it'll be good.
So, when you're getting ready to gear up for a tour like this, do you have
Mhm.
any kind of introduction to the other bands, or is it just, y'all meet up in one spot and that's it?
Yeah, closer to the second. I mean, I've talked to both of them a little bit, like Smile Empty Soul. A couple messages on Instagram here and there, but most of it's going to be just we'll get there on day one and yeah, get going.
Gotcha. Tantric, though, I know that they that's guys from Days of the New.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like it's all the members without the singer, correct?
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and they've had a lot of lineup changes, I think. So, but I've loved Tantric, man, for I don't know, since they got going. So
Yeah.
between them and Smile Empty Soul, like those are a couple bands that I grew up listening to. It's just going to be a really cool opportunity to get to jump on the road with those guys.
And I remember Days of the New, and it was like they were a really good like acoustic jam band, and then they couldn't get along for nothing. They was beating the
Yeah.
shit out of each other constantly, and
Yeah.
that's how
Well, and,
Tantric
and I
came
know,
up. Huh?
yeah, I know Tantric tours like crazy. I mean, I don't want to put a day count on it, but it seems like they're one of those bands that's out on the road 300 days a year kind of thing,
Hmm.
so they're always out there after it.
So I mean, you pretty stoked, man? You ready to get out there and do this?
Yeah, honestly, dude, I'm so stoked. I mean, as much as like I love the recording and the production and the process of that, but there's just nothing like getting in front of an audience and getting to play, especially these songs that I love so much and I think they're so explosive and so powerful. Yeah, I honestly I couldn't be more floored for it. It's going to be a great first tour. And obviously I'm hoping that we're able to spin out of this pretty quickly and, just keep jumping on the road with some other bands.
Yeah. Because I remember, if I remember right, the last time we talked, you felt like you didn't have enough music out yet to tour,
Yeah.
and we had talked about different singles coming out, and Allison just sent me this one. What was it, last week? I think it was. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because we were supposed to do the interview Monday, and I ended up having to cancel. But yeah, it's so I think it's probably been about 6 7 months since we last spoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Something like that.
you've laid out quite a bit since then, correct?
Yeah, I'm getting a better sense of like the scheduling on this, new world that we live in, which is the single release thing,
Mhm.
and just kind of like the next song is basically done. It'll final mix master will be wrapped on that in the next week or two, and that one will get rolled out before we take off on the road. And then the one after that is basically done too. So I'm always trying to be a couple songs out in front of it.
Mhm.
It's tricky because when you release a single, I don't know how to explain it. Like you're a little bit limited, when you've got an album, like you can have three or four songs that like, okay, these would be the radio type hits, but then you've got a little bit of room to make some other stuff that, wouldn't necessarily be that type of song. But lets you get a little bit out in left field. The shitty part about the single thing is that it doesn't quite let you do that as much.
Right.
You don't have that 10 song album that kind of contextualizes everything. But yet again, I'm figuring it out and kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do I keep creating stuff that sounds different from the next song, but still has that kind of, I don't know, mainstream or radio appeal or whatever you want to call it. So it's a delicate balance, but I think especially with these last few releases, like we've definitely been narrowing that focus quite a bit.
Well, I mean, obviously you're a smart business oriented guy. I mean, I know the last time we talked, do you still own your logging business?
I do. Yep. Still cranking. And I thought we were going to have kind of a slow winter, but things picked up right at the beginning of the year, which makes me happy, help pay some bills. So, I mean, and it's cool, man. Like the logging thing is what's funded the music project, this
Right.
whole time. And it's what'll fund this tour, and, it's obviously afforded me a lot of flexibility. It's been difficult in a lot of ways, but at the same time, like I couldn't have done what I've been doing, with the Fire Follows stuff for the last, whatever it's been, 3, 4, 5 years, had I not had that. And so couldn't be more grateful for it, to be honest with you.
And I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're, a smart business wise or smart businessman. I mean, I think um, you really have a grip on what needs to be done, and
Yeah.
the fact that you're kind of a perfectionist is
Yeah.
another uh, good quality to a musician.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to say, yeah, well, I guess this will do and put it out, and then you hear it on one of the streaming, excuse me, platforms or on like YouTube, and you're like, oh, that sucks,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
because once it's out there, there ain't no taking it back.
no, man. And I tell you, like, obviously, like I said, these last few releases, I think have reached, in a sense, kind of a different level just in terms of refining the sound, but like in years past, I mean, I've released stuff that at the time I loved it, and I go back and listen to it and I'm like, oh God, I just, this or that, or so I never want to feel that way ever again. I want to feel like everything that comes out is so well thought out, it's so balanced, every piece is just perfect. I mean, that's the thing is when I'm in here tracking, yeah, it's tedious and it takes time, but it's like I'm not limited by anything. I can take as much time as it takes to get every piece right. And so that's a good thing. And it obviously the expectation then is, all right, well, if I got all this time, it's got to be perfect. So make it perfect.
And I mean, that's the great thing about being independent is that, you can take that time. You're not being
Yeah.
pushed to get something done by a certain date, or you're not being pushed to play the cookie cutter songs that they have in the studio or whatever.
You got it.
So that's
Yeah.
that's one of the great things about it. And honestly, I mean, a lot more people are going that way these days.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I know people that I've talked to people that, have signed with record companies, but it's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
And the thing that back to the perfectionist part of it is, even back in the day when tapes and stuff like that were big, um, I feel like you'd hear that one song that came out on the radio, and like, holy shit, man, love this song. I want to go get the tape.
Yeah.
And there'd be like 3 or 4 songs on there that you're just like, really? This sucks.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I believe everybody at one point or another has been there. And
Oh yeah.
the great thing about that back then is if you didn't like it, fast forward.
That's it.
Nowadays, it's getting streamed and stuff. So,
Yep.
but it's just looking like about a month long that you're going to be out there. So,
Yeah.
April 2nd is the last day. What were we
Yep.
talking about after that? Another single, maybe working on an
Oh
album.
yeah. Yeah. So what I think we're gonna do, and don't hold me to this because I got to make sure that I get it done in time. But I think that we're gonna have the last song of the set will be an unreleased one. So if I've got it done before, which that's the plan right now, we'll have that be the last one. Obviously, only people that are coming to the shows will be able to hear it, and then we'll release it after the tour. So I
Okay.
figured that'd be kind of a cool way to let some people that are actually showing up, hear something new, and then maybe we might even have like a private link or something. They can go listen to it on YouTube or something like that, and
Right.
then release that one after. And I mean, my goal is, of course, like I just want to be full time on the road. So I'm hoping that obviously, I expect this tour to go super well, and then we end up with some other opportunities immediately after, and we can just keep that momentum moving forward.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
do you like actually have any time to sleep?
I mean, I do. It's more just turning the mind off, when there's so many things going on, and little stuff, even like the van that we're getting, I got to do some outfitting on that to get some bunks set up. And so just trying to figure out like, okay, how am I going to build this and all that fun stuff. So it's all in there, but um yeah, I just, the fact that it's been such a long time coming, I think, the way the world got shut down a few years ago, and kind of,
Right.
especially for the position we were in, like that was probably when we should have been trying to get out and get going once this thing started moving. But it just didn't quite work out that way. So yeah, we're gonna make the most of this. It's gonna be good.
So do you feel like you have the momentum now that you might have had back then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can even see it too, just like with the listener counts on Spotify and YouTube, and everything's growing so quickly right now that
Mhm.
I feel like once we get out there, yeah, we've had such an overwhelming response for the new songs and people reaching out to us on all the socials and saying, hey, we already bought tickets and we can't wait to. It's just incredibly cool.
Oh, I bet.
We're so fortunate. So
Yeah, I think that would probably just that would blow my mind. I mean, man, I get little comments on my interviews. Somebody might say, "Oh man, that was a really cool interview. Thanks for doing it."
yeah,
And it just you know it makes me smile like crazy. So
yeah,
I can imagine what it's like. For you that's putting all this time and effort and everything into this
yeah.
project, and for people to say, "Hey, Chris, man, your shit rocks," or "We've already
Yeah.
got tickets," or "We can't wait to
Yep.
see you."
Yeah, it's incredible. And the fact that we'll get to meet those people while we're out on the road, obviously we'll have the merch table set up and all that stuff, but just being able to connect with everyone is going to be so cool. And just the way this thing has grown over the last few years and the way it continues to grow, it's a lot of fun. It's a ton of work, but it's worth it, right? It's having an impact, like we were talking about in the beginning. So
Right.
it's all I've ever wanted.
Well, and the fact that you just said it's a ton of fun,
Yeah.
that I mean, it is work, but it's fun. And
Yeah,
that's always a huge plus too. I mean, like
absolutely.
when I go to work, I don't see much fun in it. I'm like, this day's gonna suck. But
I know.
you know,
I know, man. It's and Allison and I talk about this a lot where it's like as long as the focus always remains on just having fun for sure, but just creating what I love, right? It's
right,
like it's always going to be a good thing. I try not to worry about the results too much. It's like just create the coolest, most epic, incredible shit that I can make, and then let the chips fall where they may. And if that sort of remains the attitude, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
yeah, yeah, I think so too. Just one final question, man. How do you come up with these lyrics? I mean, are they from personal experiences? Are they from stories that you've heard, or what?
Yeah, I mean, so I it's all of that. I mean, like this song in particular is pretty close to me. It's a lot of stuff that I've experienced and people I know have experienced. But I spend a lot of time with the lyrics, like if I have an initial part of a song or initial section, like I don't ever want there to be a wasted line. I think when I was much younger and I was writing songs, I'd kind of find a hook and then I'd throw whatever else in there. I don't do that anymore. Like the lyrics have to move me before I'll, deciding on them being finals. And so any of the stuff that's been released, basically all the Fire Follows stuff, that's what it is. It's lines that, when I play them back to myself in my mind, I go, that's a powerful lyric. It's a powerful line. It word paints in a way for me where I can see the words,
Mhm.
and that's what I hope all the listeners are doing too, is that it's creating images in their minds for all these really powerful, what I think are powerful lines.
Okay, yeah, that's great explanation. I get
Yeah.
you 100%. And
Yeah.
it's just funny, man, because like I just wonder sometimes how lyrics are created. Like, I mean, one of the bands that really kind of got me back in the day was Slayer. You
Okay.
know, they got all these big words and it's intelligent and this and that,
Mhm.
and you're thinking, okay, these guys have upside down crosses everywhere.
Yep.
They're blah blah blah, and it's but everything. If you really listen to some of the metal songs from back then, like Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, whatever, there's a meaning there. It's
Yep.
not, kill your dog, rape your, pig or whatever.
Yep.
It's got some serious meaning to it. And a lot of
Yeah.
it was either about suicide, war, it was political and stuff. And I feel like nowadays, the more that you leave that kind of stuff out of your lyrics, the better
Yeah.
off you are, because the world is so touch and go with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
It's
I,
I could not resonate more with what you're saying. I mean, I hate it, right? Because like I would love to be able to use different types of words in these songs and different types of messages. And so I feel like my goal generally is to get right up to the edge, you know, of what I think is going to be listenable for a broad audience in the modern, you know, era that we live in, and still stretch a little bit, you know, where it's like, okay, I'm not this doesn't sound, I don't, how would people describe it, like in the past, what's like theatrical. I've had people at times in the past tell me that the Fire Follow stuff was too theatrical, and so I'm always trying to, you know, I don't want to be disingenuous, but I also want to make sure that it makes sense for your average listener, right? That it's palatable, because I want the messages to come through.
Right.
So I mean, I think of a band like Flaw. Chris Voles is their
Mm.
lead singer, and just, I mean, that's one of those bands that I to me, they should have been one of the biggest hard rock bands in the world. And they, you know, they were signed and they've been on different labels and stuff, but just never really caught in the way that like a Breaking Benjamin or a 3 Days Grace did.
Right.
But I mean, the way he writes and the words he uses and the lyrics are so powerful. Um, and I miss it, you know, I miss that sort of era where I think that that was more um, just listenable for most people. But you know, you got to make the most of what we got right now. And I think what we got is a listener base that's probably been dumbed down quite a bit. Not their fault, just, you know, the modern music that comes out. So it's like, try to find that middle ground and make it make sense for everybody.
And see, I agree with you 100% on that one. So,
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
Chris. Well, man, I appreciate your time this evening, and
Hell yeah.
it's always great talking to you. I mean,
You too, bro.
you're a hell of a guy, hell of a musician.
I appreciate it,
Keep
man.
doing what you're doing, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, you know, you get out there on this tour, and you know, people get to see you live, and really catch your message, and especially
Yeah.
with the, you know, the multi, what's the word I'm looking for, uh multi-sex, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Our,
Women and men, you know.
our split band.
Right. So
Two, two and
I
two.
think
Yeah.
that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, man.
Yeah, man, got to get up to Ohio, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
we will, bro.
because yeah, it uh would love to just check out a live show, man.
Yeah.
I really dig your music, and I think a lot of people will when you get out there on the road, man.
Appreciate it, dude. We'll make it up there soon.
All right, buddy. Well, you
All
have a
right.
good evening, and we'll talk to you again.
You too, my man. See
All
you.
right, later.